Welcome back to WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Brashier, and we're back on Monday with some more important recruiting news. Scott, if you first want to touch on what you've been up to.
Well, this week I went and saw Jaylen Harvey play. Last week I went and saw him play a scrimmage. This week I saw him play the first game of the year for Quince Orchard, and really like what I saw from Jaylen. This is a guy that plays hard every down, very hard to stop, requires a double team oftentimes. He was a regular in the backfield on Saturday, and he visited USC last weekend, and I thought that maybe that was going to be his final visit. It was going to lead up to maybe a commitment announcement in a week. So he's delayed the commitment announcement.
Oh, wow.
So he's going to visit Maryland. He's going to go to a Maryland game next weekend. And then Penn State doesn't come home. They don't play at home for 2 more weeks. I think that's September 23rd, the same weekend where USC's at ASU. He's going to visit there. They're giving Maryland and Penn State a similar chance as they gave USC by getting that one final visit in. However, I think it really is going to take something magical on those 2 visits that he's going to be going on here in the next couple of weeks to really stop USC from getting him. I think that's the direction it's going with Jaylen Harvey, and so we'll see how things go. But I think USC fans are going to like the final outcome of that one.
Definitely. I mean, it'd be nice to get a win right now.
Yes, I know.
Perfect. And then moving on, we just recently gained a commitment in the class of 2026 wide receiver Jamiron Baker from Los Alamitos. He's not yet ranked since, class 2026 is so early, but he holds offers from Texas A&M, Louisville, Tennessee, Michigan State, Miami, and Colorado. So definitely within good company, and definitely a surprise. I mean, it happened mid-game, right?
Yeah, I made a joke on our message board saying, I'm going to have to start getting with these sophomores and tell them the proper protocol for announcing. And my first tip number 1 is do not commit or announce your commitment while you're at a football game.
Yeah.
So the timing was interesting. It was kind of like, when Matthews, the tight end, Walter Matthews, committed to USC at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I was like, some guys just don't really care. Obviously, Jamiron's not looking for, this. The attention was not the major reason for him announcing, obviously. But he is a kid. We wrote an article about a year ago on the talented freshman class that Los Alamitos has, and Tron, which is his nickname. Tron was among those guys, and he's a legit playmaker.
Perfect. And then, okay, so we'll throw back to Ryan Pellum. He's a 2024 wide receiver commit for us, and he had a great high school game last week with 7 receptions, 112 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and he took a kickoff 92 yards for a touchdown. His high school, Milliken, ended up winning 48-34, so by 2 touchdowns, could have been from him.
Yeah.
And so he had a great game for him. A reminder, he is the 86th overall prospect and 16th receiver. But of course, with more performances like this, we could definitely see a rise in those rankings.
Sure.
Perfect. And then after the miss on Kingston Viliamuasa and Ty Anthony Smith, USC has offered 2024 3-star linebacker Ephraim Asiata, and he's he will be at the USC versus Stanford game next weekend for an official visit. So that's definitely promising.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good, interesting backstory also on why he may not have the offers that some of us think that he should have. And he was involved in an incident where he was actually shot. And so, so he had that entire recovery process to go through last year. So he's just now getting back to playing football. He's hungry. He's playing great. And he's a top prospect for USC. And don't let your ranking fool you on some of these guys. Sometimes there's a story. Sometimes there's a really good reason why some of these guys aren't ranked as high. Sometimes it's just, missing on guys. But in some cases, it's just simply they haven't been seen. And that's the case with Asiata.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Perfect. And then I feel like every week we're always asking about Chris Cole once we get up to the to this commitment date. I'm wondering if you have any more insight. If not, no worries.
There's not a whole lot more insight. I know they went into this visit with liking what they saw. And when I say they, it's going to be Chris, his mom, and his grandmother.
All right, just for fans to know, he was at the Nevada game yesterday too.
Yes, he's on his official visit this weekend. So yeah, I think his visit's probably just going to be ending as we stop recording this show here. But tomorrow we'll end up talking to him, talking to his mom, and kind of get an idea. I think the thinking is that Tennessee might be the school that's nipping at Georgia's heels, and in large part, the one thing that Georgia does not do is, and they don't have to, is they don't offer large guaranteed NIL deals for high school prospects like Lincoln Riley. Two different programs right now, but USC's closing the gap, obviously, and fans get upset that USC doesn't pay high school football players. But this is going to be a kid who will follow up with him, and I think that USC. I think USC fans might be surprised on how much he liked his visit.
Yeah, definitely, that's fair. So now we'll move on. Obviously, there are some more stones in the fire cooking for USC in terms of 2024 recruits that are uncommitted, still on the table. So we'll announce them real quick. We got Jaylen Harvey, of course, we've been talking about. Same with Chris Cole. And then we got a new one on the list, though, I haven't talked about much, and that's Jericho Johnson. Scott, he's a D lineman from Armijo, California, if you want to touch on him.
Yeah, he's really, I think, right now, it's not even close. I think he's the top prospect on the board.
Wow.
Regardless of position. This is a big-time player, extremely large, very athletic, kind of frighteningly athletic for a guy his size. Could become a very dominant kind of guy in the middle, space eater. And he's always planned on taking his USC official visit during the football season. And it wouldn't surprise me. I haven't asked about this, but USC could end up being his last official visit. So we'll see how that all plays out. But he is a big-time prospect that USC really, really needs.
Definitely. And I see on here it said he announced his Final Four with USC in the mix. So that's always good. That's always good to hear. Perfect. And then next one is cornerback Sione Lalea, which we've been talking about as of recent. And then after that, of course, we already mentioned him earlier, Ephraim Asiata, the linebacker. And then a new one I haven't talked about is offensive lineman Justin Ta'anu'u out of Huntington Beach, California.
Yeah, he's a guy that I honestly, before he took his Stanford official visit in June, he had planned on taking an official visit to USC. I thought the direction his recruitment was going was USC was going to end up getting him. But Stanford's one of those places. There's certain guys, they get up there, it's beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been there before. Stanford's like an amazing place.
Definitely.
But their football program's not that great, so they're going to have to build their way up. So I asked Justin if he planned on getting to USC games this year, and he said he would definitely be at multiple games this year. So I think this could lead to an official visit at some point for him too. So that's another guy to stay on the lookout for. Offensive tackle from Huntington Beach High School.
Perfect. Yeah, next up. We haven't really talked about him much, but I feel like he's pretty well known. That's Fox Schrader, the offensive tackle from Vancouver, Washington. And he committed to Oregon, but Scott, still, how are we in the mix?
USC's still pursuing him. He's like one of the kids that I have hit up numerous times, numerous ways, and I get no response from him. I don't think anybody does. So it's not. I don't think it's anything about me. But he's another offensive tackle target, and USC felt this summer like they had a shot to get him despite his commitment to Oregon. But he keeps saying that he's solid was his commitment. Yet I keep hearing USC thinks they still have a shot.
Nice, perfect. Yeah, hopefully. And then I see on your quick notes in this article, it said Aiden Breland was expected to make a USC official visit, but the chances of that happening are very slim.
Yeah. This is one of the prospects to where the NIL is very, very important, to say the least. And, it's one of those situations where if that's the case where NIL opportunities or a guaranteed type deal is a priority, USC is just not going to get those guys.
That's fair. Perfect. Well, that will wrap up the list of priority recruits for USC. So now we're going to switch subjects. Obviously, USC played Nevada this past week. Great game for both sides of the ball. Scott, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, it was as we talked about last week. Defensively, we'll start with that.
Oh yeah,
you had to see some improvements, and I think there were elements in game one, despite the 28 points that were scored, that looked really good in week one. And I think that we could say that it looked even that much better here week two. I know who the opponent was, but I'm also watching the guys move around. Okay. I know how big they are, how athletic they are. What really stood out to me, I haven't watched the whole game yet, but what really stood out to me today in watching some of the replays was how well USC is containing the edge. And so, they're faster. They're far more explosive. Even just a little cut upfield by Taj Washington, I was like, damn, he's always looked good to me. Very underrated, by the way. Somebody posted that on our message board, and I was like, yeah. We talked about him, but he was going to be one of the top receivers this year.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody ever talks about him after last season. You got Jordan Addison. You had a lot going on there. But Taj was like that production machine.
Yeah.
So I don't, so anyway, offensively, it is what it is. 66 points. They look beautiful. Another thing is you had Elijah Hughes last week. This week it was Braylon Shelby that you got to see the strip and then the steal from
Stanley to
Stanley Taufo.
Taufo.
Yeah. So hey, good Lord. I thought anytime you can get Miller Moss in the third quarter, okay, great game.
I mean, when Caleb still gets 300 yards passing and doesn't even play the full game, that's a great game in my opinion.
Yeah. So
there were certain things I was looking for on the defensive side. Last year, Nevada averaged 19 points a game. So in my head, I'm like, we cannot let them score more than 19 points. My prediction was 70-14. So 66-14. Yeah. I mean, they checked off all the boxes, in my opinion. Defense and Mason Cobb and Gentry weren't even in. So playing our, second stringers and guys that normally wouldn't get playing time and still putting up that kind of production, I feel like is a great win for the defense.
Let's give a little hat tip to Rajon Davis and Shane Lee too.
Exactly. And then I talked to a fan and he asked if Anthony Lucas was injured. Apparently he got up slow, so that's something to keep an eye out for. No,
I don't think it's an issue.
The only injury I saw was Gina Quinones, right?
Yes.
I was like within the first play or something like that.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley said after the game, we're hoping for the best on that one. So that doesn't sound good.
Of course, definitely. But I mean, thank God we have the depth at O-line.
Lots of depth there. It's maybe not week 2. We're not going to be talking about this a whole lot, but that depth is going to be talked about a lot. Week 7, 8, 9, and 10, and even beyond that.
Definitely. And how about Quentin Joyner with that 47-yard touchdown run? I mean, it's just great. It's great to see the freshmen and great for the recruits, obviously, seeing these freshmen get playing time and have production on the field. It's just
I mean, that's a very relevant topic. The guys seeing USC play offensively and defensively, it's very important USC take care of business defensively, but those running backs see guys like Quentin Joyner, true freshman, doing what he's doing. That matters. Yeah,
and then first touchdown of the game, Zachariah Branch, picking it off where we left it off last week. So that's always great to hear.
Well, heck yeah.
For sure.
It's fun to watch. I mean, I think anybody that was watching that game was like, God, USC's really good. Offensively, anyway.
I was really frustrated after that Dominique Jackson got burnt on that one of their first drives. But I mean, I'm like, oh, no way. Is this game going in that direction? Thankfully, it didn't.
The thing about it is Damani was right. Almost went through Damani's hand.
50-50 ball almost. Could have been an interception.
I know. So the guy caught it, and maybe Damani should have tried to bat it away instead of trying, cradle the ball for interception. But, I think that's the kind of stuff, as a fan, as somebody maybe who's uber critical, you can't look at that kind of stuff and be tremendously upset.
Of course. We're going to have mistakes, especially on the defensive side. It's just how we can limit those mistakes. And they did a great job of rebounding and making sure that does not happen again.
Yeah.
Perfect. Looking to next week, we take on Stanford at the Coliseum, which is going to be a great environment. I think USC is going to easily take it again. Stanford's no pushover, but it's still USC.
Yeah, I think I just saw the point spread, so I think 4 touchdowns.
Oh, wow. 4 touchdowns? Oh, my goodness.
Somewhere in that range. Yeah.
I mean, it'll be nice to see USC's actual first team defense and see how they can put up against the new Troy Taylor offense.
Yeah. Offensively, Stanford's going to be different, to say the least. And they're going to be well coached, but Stanford's got such a long way to go before that. They did not do what Deion Sanders did during the offseason, because they can't. Stanford can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think that USC is going to probably win by more than the point spread.
That's fair. And then speaking of Deion, like you mentioned, he had a great game yesterday. That was, I don't know if TCU was really bad or if Colorado was really good.
Well, the thing about Colorado is, we talked about them. We had to pick a last in the Pac-12, and I was like, I was going.
I put them a little higher than that. I had a little faith in them.
I know, but I was, I made it clear that I was ignorant on everybody they brought in. I was just basically, they didn't win a game last year, and they'll probably win 4 this year. So this is not a hater of Deion Sanders. I actually freaking love Deion Sanders.
You're being a realist.
Yeah, I was just kind of being realistic. So was it Colorado being way better than we think? Probably a combination of that. Probably a combination of TCU just not really being a top 20 team.
And where they were at last year, definitely. I mean, with the Sonny Dykes is still a great coach, but I mean, Max Dugan's gone. I know they lost a lot of receivers and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, Colorado, regardless of who they're playing, Shedeur Sanders put up 510 yards of passing.
Right.
It's a school record in his first FBS game, which is insane, unheard of.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter had 112 receiving yards and was a lights out on defense. So
interception, he had a ridiculous interception. I know that. I was only catching pieces of stuff that was going on because I was at a high school game. I was watching Jaylen Harvey play yesterday, or in the car on the way there. But no, I mean, I think I love most about Colorado winning that football game is knowing how much it pisses some people off that Deion Sanders.
You want to see him
got that dub.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a little worried about that game in Boulder. That's going to be great. I'm going to try to go to that one. Hopefully we'll see, but that's going to be a great experience.
You know, it's probably for some of the teams that are going to roll in to Boulder, you know, that victory was probably a great favor because nobody's going to roll into Colorado thinking that, you know, they absolutely suck.
Yeah.
You know, now you know, we got to be ready for these guys. So
and looking at their schedule, I mean, it isn't a horribly rough schedule. I can definitely see it 8-4, 9-3, maybe.
Yeah, I haven't looked at their schedule. You know, I think there's going to be a point to where playing an entire football season is different than playing 2 weeks. Fair. You know, and there's going to be injury issues. There's going to be depth issues, and there's going to be some tougher opponents. You know, they still have to play Oregon, USC, Washington, and I don't know their entire schedule. But you know, I don't know how they're going to finish. But I'm just saying, realistically, there's going to be some issues later in the season.
Yeah. But as for Colorado, for next week, they take on newly coached Matt Rule's Nebraska, which they had a pretty bad game in their first game against Minnesota.
I'd actually fear Colorado more than I would Nebraska currently.
Oh, 100%. That's no doubt in my mind. Nebraska, in my opinion, is still a joke. So until proven otherwise.
Right.
Perfect.
Matt Rule will get them straightened out, though.
We'll see. Hopefully.
You're not a believer.
I'm not a believer.
All right.
Well, that will wrap up today's show. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dylan Brashier, and we'll see you next week. Bye, on.